Testing, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. As I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are today watching Fnaf Law. We are watching from the beginning of Game Theory. We're watching Matt Pat's all his videos on the Five Nights at Freddy's Law because when I was playing the game, and I just watched the movie recently, and like there was some stuff I was lost on. Like I feel like I know some of the stuff that happened. I know there's the Battle of 87. I know what's up, Fob? I know there's the Battle of 87. I know there's that's about it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's literally what I know. And yeah. I thought I might as well just watch the Law and stream then, because like, why not? I Matt Paz a lot, so might as well. Well, anyway, not too much of an introduction is needed, guys. Today we are watching Five Nights at Freddy's Law Game Theory from the beginning to the end. No, I'm not gonna do it all in one setting, obviously, because that's too long. How am I doing today? I'm doing splendid. How are you doing today, Fob? Hopefully you're doing well. Yeah, obviously I can't watch everything in one day because it's just too many videos, but I'll watch some. I'll watch some. Try to see if I can understand what's going on. I don't think you guys can even see that on. Let me make it smaller actually. You guys will have like a noticeable gap, but like it should be better if you guys can see the whole thing. This should be cool, right? Hopefully this is cool. Yeah, that looks alright. I downloaded a new game today, and it's really fun. What game is it? What game is it tonight? We're actually watching something. We're watching the Fnaf Law, or Five Nights at Freddy's Law, from Game Theory.
It's time.
Flashbang of Doom. Chill, wait. Damn, this is old. This intro is so old. How long ago was this video? 10 years ago. Fuck, man. I'm old. Tomb Raider. Definitive Edition. Damn, Fez. I want to play Tomb Raider because I saw a YouTube show on it recently as well. I'm probably not going to play it soon. I might play it like later next year.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where good things, or at least FNAF things, come to those who wait. And man, when it comes to this game series, no one was waiting for anything. I mean, the second game came out 3 months after.
Was FNAF that good when it came out? Like when it dropped? Was it that amazing? I thought I was too young back then. Back then, I could only watch YouTubers, and I didn't even watch all the YouTubers that played. I had to watch the Minecraft version. I think I said this before. I had to watch Minecraft FNAF because I couldn't hack it. The bundle on PS Store where you can get the 2 minutes for £9. Ooh! That's why I love PlayStation, man. They always give you these offers that give you so many like, old games for so cheap.
The first, the trailer for the third was 2 months later, and like 4 minutes after that, the game was available to download. So forgive me if I was caught with my pants down on that one. I just wasn't prepared for it. But even more impressive than that abbreviated timeline was your ability to rip that final game apart. Hours after the release of the game, people were discussing good versus bad endings, 8-bit Atari cake, glitching through walls, and punching a flipping code into cement bricks arranged like a telephone dial pad. In regards to that last one, I have two things to say. First off, well done to you guys for figuring it out so quickly, and secondly, Scott, seriously, Seriously, Scott? Oh, look, here's a wall. Let me just dial in my phone number. Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. What? When did we jump from a point-and-click horror game to magical fantasy? This thing is like Platform 9 3/4. I expect Harry effing Potter to apparate into Pirate's Cove or something. Jeez, here I was thinking that you'd plug your numbers into, the one other place that you see numbers in this game, the bonus jump scare menu, or something, anything, but nope, dialing it into a wall makes so much more sense.
Did I miss something? Wait. Did I miss something?
Funny.
Wait, Joe. Oh, this is not the first one. What the hell am I doing?
Hello once again, theorists. Welcome to MatPat Plays. Today we are playing the scariest game of all creation. Probably never heard of it. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's.
Hello? Oh, hello, and welcome to the new and improved Five Nights at Freddy's 2 video. I'm here to answer any questions the game may have left unanswered. The game's developer, he's a pretty tricky guy. Don't worry, though. We'll get everything cleared up. Oh,
Is this him? Is that him talking? It is.
and, watch out for the puppet.
Oh, Joe. What the hell is he playing at, bro?
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show
I swear he retired as well, by the way. That MatPat. I'm pretty sure he retired.
that promises not to include any
that's
more
so
gratuitous
crazy.
jump scares, unless that's just what I want you to think, so I can lull you into a false sense of security and scare you again. But I wouldn't do that. I'll just let the uncertainty of whether a jump scare is going to happen or not drive you insane for the rest of this episode. Man, I love reverse psychology. You know what else I love? These games! Not because I'm freaked out by the rosy-cheeked, tingle-looking, emotionally dead animatronics. Okay, well, Balloon Kid is pretty messed up, but whatever. No, what I appreciate about these games is the level of thought that went into
Rest in peace, man. Well, not rest in peace because he's still alive. But, like, he would miss, man. He's missed. I feel like I used to watch so many of his videos back in the day. I actually watched Game Theory. I used to watch, what's the other one? He had another channel. I think it was Film Theory. I think that's the one I used to watch.
every element of the story. When you create a game that has people rage debating about whether it's a sequel or a prequel, you've definitely done something right. Unless that was never your intent, in which case you've done something horribly wrong.
Rage Bane
Anyway,
happened.
the point is, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 looks to be everything you'd want in a sequel. More cameras, more danger, and more fan. Oh, the fan. But that also comes with more questions. Questions about the game's lore. And while others will provide you with the jump scares, I provide you with what everyone really wants, answers. Well, maybe not everyone. What an elite, educated subset of you really want, answers. So grab yourselves a slice of Freddy Fazbear's signature pizza, cause we're about to...
I'm not eating any kind of pizza that's from Chuck E. Cheese, Freddy Fazbear's Diner, like none of those things with those robots. I'm not eating it. I don't know how people are willingly taking their kids here and they don't expect a death. Like if I'm taking my kid here, I expect death. Like I'm not feeding him that. That looks worse than canteen pizza. And canteen pizza is bad.
dig in. Ugh, tastes like cardboard. Let's get the big one out of the way first. Is the game a sequel or a prequel sequel? And what I mean by that is, contrary to popular belief, just because it has a big 2 slapped next to the name doesn't automatically mean the game comes after the first one in a timeline sense. It's a sequel, yes, but it tells a prequel story. Take for instance these all-time classics, Psycho 4: The Beginning, Lion King 1.5, and the actual all-time classic
Lion King 1.5. Did I miss something? What the hell was Lion King 1.5? Did I watch that? I don't think I watched that. I feel like I watched Lion King as well. I don't think I watched Lion King 1.5.
classic Godfather Part 2. All of them sequels that just so happen to also be prequels. It's not mutually exclusive. So where's Five Nights at Freddy's 2 fit in? Knowing its place in the timeline is crucial for understanding its story. Well, to figure that out, let's focus on the paycheck you receive at the end of your 5th night. The date places the events of the game in 1987, a whole 6 years ahead of when we determined the first game took place in our first video. Sounds like a prequel, but we found that date in the first game by calculating Mike Schmidt's hourly pay and comparing that to the minimum wage of the 90s. If Scott Coffin, the game's developer, is just picking random numbers for the payments, this bit of evidence would be meaningless. Except that he's not. At the end of Five Nights 2, you get paid $100.50. Divide that by the 30 hours worked and you get $3.35 an hour. The exact minimum wage for 1987, which means that us using minimum wage calculations to identify the year of Five Nights 1.
How? How does one even think of that? That's too many steps. I never understand how people break down games like this. I can't lie. It's just too much. What do you mean you found the basic rate of low income something? What am I even looking at right now?
Is a perfectly valid way to prove it and shows that it takes place after the events of Five Nights 2. Still don't believe me? Players brave enough to survive the extra night 6 are rewarded with a bonus check and a newspaper clipping that says the toy robots are getting scrapped and that the old ones are going into storage for a new, smaller scale version of the restaurant. That would explain why the old models reappear in Five Nights 1 and the toy models don't. And notice how it mentions a smaller version of the restaurant. The building in Five Nights 1 is significantly smaller than the setting of Five Nights 2. Need more evidence? What about the fact that on the first night in the office, the phone guy explains that the robots used to walk around during the day just like they do in Five Nights 2, but not anymore? Or the fact that phone guy dies in the first game, making it hard for him to also be the phone guy in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 if it takes place after. Call me the Phantom Menace, cause every way to Sunday, this game is a prequel. So with that revelation out of the way, we're able to piece together the rest of the timeline and dig a little bit deeper.
I didn't know Phone Guy died. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know Phone Guy died. I thought he was alive. So who's in because I know there's a phone guy in Sister Location. Or is there a phone guy? What's talking to you in Sister Location? It's not a phone guy. It's like a computer AI system. Now you're right. You might have actually died.
Posters everywhere in Five Nights 2 welcome you to this new location, implying that there was another Freddy Fazbear's Pizza somewhere before this one. Additionally, the phone guy makes reference to it on night 1, mentioning the old location and how it was left to rot. So we know that there was one Freddy Fazbear's Pizza for the first game, one for the second game, and one that came before both of them that we've never seen. But even before that...
What's up, JJ? You watch this? This is old. This is really old. I don't even know. Do you think that he will still have the same freeze like down the line? Or do you think that it will change?
That, the phone guy also mentions an even older restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner, which, aside from its confusingly different name, also had different owners. So let me recap. There's the restaurant from the first game, which is the last in the timeline. The one that you're currently working at in 1987 in Five Nights 2, an older location of Freddy Fazbear's
Wait, go
began
back.
in 19...
The one that you're currently working at 1987 in Five Nights 2. So the Battle of 87 happens in Five Nights at Freddy's 2?
87 in Five Nights 2, an older location of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria left to rot, and the original Fredbear's Diner. Jeez, I hope you're still with me because this is more complicated than the Zelda timeline. Anyway, it's at this first location, the Diner, where the whole story begins. Submitted for the approval of the Game Theorists Society, this is the true tale of Five Nights at Freddy's. When you die in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, before you've even gotten over the jump scare, you sometimes get a screen like this. Oh, turn it off, it's too horrifying. That, youngsters, was E.T. for the Atari, a console that came out before the NES. Yes, around the same time as the dinosaurs. It's widely considered to be the worst game of all time, hence me reacting in a horrified manner.
Bruh.
See? Humor, folks. But seriously, you get these disturbing death minigames which, true to the 1987 setting, use Atari-esque graphics to depict various horrific events. All the while, a creepy robotic voice spells out letter by letter things like help them, or save him.
This is another thing. Apparently we are friends with the animatronics. But you see, that doesn't make sense to me because how are we friends with Foxy, Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie? But in every game they seem want to kill us. They want to kill us. So I don't understand. They are kids. Yeah, I know they're kids. That's the one thing I know. I know they're trapped kids. I know that as well. So I know they're trapped kids, and then there's the Battle of 87. But then why do they kill us if we're friends? They always say we should save him. In the movie, they're saying we're friends. And then, actually, to be fair, we're not the little girl in the movie. I don't know who we are. Who are we in the game? Are we Purple Man?
These death minigames are the most important piece in figuring out the true story behind these games. Let's start with this one. This death minigame has you playing as Freddy, taking cake to screaming children.
They're being possessed by Golden Freddy. Okay, so Golden Freddy is a demon. Was Golden Freddy in the... No. I don't know, spoil it. But in FNAF 2, the movie, they were being controlled by the puppet. I know they were being controlled by the puppet, but then the real ones came back to life. That was so confusing. That was very
At a
confusing
birthday
me, bro.
party. As Freddy rushes around trying to keep the whole party happy, a single sad child looks on from outside, when suddenly you're powerless to do anything but look on in abject horror as a purple man
Golden Freddy is the main cause of all the other animatronics. Okay. Okay, so Golden Freddy is evil.
and pulls up in a car, murders the child, and drives off.
What?
It's my belief, loyal theorists, that this game takes place at Fredbear's Diner and is
So Purple Guy is a
chronologically the
murderer.
first event that we see in this timeline. How do I know? Well, it's a small establishment and there's only one animatronic, Freddy, as opposed to all the other games which show other robots. But more importantly, this murdered child is the one that sets everything into motion. One of the new tasks added to Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is winding a mysterious music box that we're told placates one of the animatronics. If you fail to wind the music box, what you're introduced to is this terrifying thing, the puppet. It looks like No-Face from Spirited Away. You know what else he looks like? Take a look at that murdered child again. See how his tear tracks remain visible on his face, even after he's dead? If we assume that they'll continue to stay with him into the afterlife, we can make a pretty good case that this kid's murdered spirit eventually found its way into the puppet animatronic. But that's not
The puppet's the creepiest one, I can't lie. That's the creepiest animatronic out of all of them.
all. What jump scare happens after this save him minigame? After seeing this tear-stained child's murder reenacted in 8-bit, the puppet jumps out of the screen and attacks you. Coincidence? I don't think so. That incident marks
Golden Freddy scarier. You know what it is? I think it's because the puppet is just so tall and skinny. So it creeps me out. It's just, I don't know, it's just disgusting. Something about him is disgusting. And then the purple tear marks as well. And he's so ominous, like, oh no, he's scary, he's disgusting. He's scary.
the first time the chain is ever associated with a violent act.
That's
carried
Cylinder
out
built
by
that,
a child, and we can infer that it was this incident that caused the original owners of Fredbear's Diner to sell off to the company now known as Fazbear Entertainment. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was senselessly murdered and left to haunt a crappy pizza place for the rest of my life in the body of an awful-looking clown doll, I'd want to get my revenge as soon as possible. Unfortunately for our vengeful puppet, though, it doesn't quite turn out that way. Fast forward a few years to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the first location, the one that has yet to appear in a game. This new restaurant is the one we learned about in my earlier episode and throughout the first game, where our pal the murderer uses a golden Freddy suit to lure away and kill 5 children in the back room. As we read through the various articles on the wall, he gets caught.
That's wrong, right? He used a golden bunny suit, I think. I might be wrong, actually, never mind.
The next day, but the bodies are never found, presumably because they've been stuffed into the animatronic suits. The restaurant stays open for a few months until the dead body stink starts to waft off the robots and causes the place to get shut down for health reasons. But how do we know this happened in the first pizzeria's location? Again, we turn to what the phone guy says. On night 2 of Five Nights 2, he mentions the smell coming from the old animatronics, the smell that got the original restaurant shut down. We also know that after the Golden Freddy incident, it took multiple months for the restaurant to get shut down.
This is Golden Freddy, right? I can't lie. He might be more scary. I can't lie. It's between him and Puppet. They're right there next to each other. Because those eyes, God forbid those eyes are chai.
That couldn't have happened in the restaurant of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is shut down on night 6 and into the foreseeable future. But outside of these lore clues, it also makes logical sense. Before the Golden Freddy murders, there was one dead child whose tear-stained soul existed in the form of the puppet. But now there are 5 more dead children, and thanks to another of the death minigames, we find out exactly
I'm not even playing the game. How did he... Oh, God.
what happened to them. In the Help Them minigame, the puppet stuffs the dead children into the robotic suits, giving their souls new life, and preps them for their eternal mission of vengeance. But MatPat, you say through your chattering teeth.
He can't even walk. He crawls in that suit, which means, oh, ew. Oh, yuck.
There are only 4 dead children in that game, to which I tell you, look closer, if you dare, for the frame right before Golden Freddy's head jumps out and attacks features the lost 5th dead child, and what started as a haunted puppet has suddenly become an army of possessed animatronics out for revenge. But wait, that's not all we know. We also know the murder was committed by the same guy who killed the first child. How? Look at the Foxy death minigame. Twice, Foxy runs out to meet the kids, but the 3rd time we see the tall purple man again, smiling. Foxy goes into the other room.
Purple guy's
to
sick,
find
man. What the hell is wrong with him?
dead children. The man in purple strikes again. Skip ahead to 1987, finally bringing us to the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. The old animatronics have been retired, and the cute new versions of all our favorite friends come equipped with facial recognition software that just so happens to be connected to a sex offender database.
What?
Seems like an oddly specific detail, right? Until you consider that the last restaurant was closed for having children get kidnapped and killed by an employee. It's a safety measure.
Is that what was going on? I had no idea. I thought he was just killing them. I didn't know he was touching them up, diddying them as well. That's kind of crazy.
You see how it all ties together? So you have some animatronics possessed by vengeful spirits and another batch on the prowl for predators. But that doesn't stop our friend the Purple Man from continuing his life's work of murdering children at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. As we learn from the phone guy on nights 4 through 6, the new restaurant is once again under investigation.
Those are actually darker. There's no way it gets darker than that. Oh gosh. That's crazy, man. Wait, so okay, cool. So the killer is not only a killer, he's a diddler, and he's diddled the children and then killed them and stuffed them into suits. I think that's what's happening. So for the 5 kids, he's killed 5. No, he's killed 6 in total. Because he's killed Golden Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, Foxy, and the other one. Then he's killed the puppet as well. So he's killed 6 children already. The Purple Man alone. And diddled them.
As, well, I'll let him explain.
Hello. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
The Golden Freddy Killer struck again. The final death minigame also supports this. You, as Freddy, must walk through an exact replica of the building, animatronics all in their proper places, seeing the 5 dead children spread out through the various rooms. And based on what Phone Guy says, it seems like the guilty party was the former night guard.
This theory is that Golden Freddy is the Purple Man. Ooh, so his theories do change, because I'm pretty sure the Purple Man is Golden Bonnie, not Golden Freddy, right? I think.
The one who moved to day shift and the one your character replaced. I mean, Phone Guy makes plenty of uncomfortable references to suddenly having an available position during the day.
When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available. We don't have a replacement for your shift yet, but we're working on it.
But is the Purple Man really someone we've never met, and who's only worked there a week? Or is it someone we trust? Someone with a long history with these characters? Someone no one would suspect? The head guard. The one forced to fill empty positions and teach new recruits by leaving them instructions over the phone. Is the Purple Man the phone guy? Ask yourself this. What do we really know
I thought Phone Guy died. I thought Phone Guy died second game.
about Phone Guy? Let's look at what he says. First, he always speaks like an outsider looking in. He refers to the management of the company as they. So he's not a higher up like the CEO or even a manager. But he's also not a typical day worker, as he says things like the employees and the staff. So he works there, but isn't generally considered a regular member of the company. We also know that he's qualified to take the role of a night guard. As we learn, he plans to take over the position sometime after night 6, and is on his way out of the position by the time the first game starts.
For now, just make it through the night. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself. I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact.
What else do we know? Well, we know that Phone Guy has a long history with the company, being with it at least since the first pizzeria that we haven't played in. He also openly admits that Foxy the Pirate was always his favorite, and that he has never liked the puppet because, as he says, it was always thinking.
Yeah, God forbid. Okay, the Foxy, I don't mind Foxy being your favorite, because Puppet being your favorite is disgusting. Look at him. Yeah, just look. How could that be? Look.
Did
Creepy.
Foxy ever appear in the hallway? Probably not. I was just curious. Like I said, he was always my favorite. I'll be honest, I never liked that puppet thing. It's always thinking, and it can go anywhere.
Okay, but what do we know about the purple guy, the Golden Freddy Killer? Well, let's look at the minigames again. He has a long history with the franchise, killing since it was Fredbear Diner. We see him smiling as he watches Foxy perform, Phone Guy's favorite, right before Foxy sees the room of dead children. We know that the puppet and the killer wouldn't get along, which would explain Phone Guy's discomfort around a creature that he describes as always thinking. And here's the bombshell. We know the killer is a security guard. How? On very rare occasions during the Save Them minigame, while Freddy chases the puppet, the purple man appears and chases you. Look on his chest. It's an orange badge.
Okay.
Kind that would be given to a security guard. Now look at his eyes. Notice the white spots? An odd, seemingly innocuous detail. But now look at Golden Freddy. Look deep into his dead, vacant eyes.
Sure.
What do you see? Two white spots. Pinpricks, really. Barely visible. They're there. And now finally, what do we see in Purple Guy's hand? Well, the Atari graphics make it tough to discern. It's not like any gun or knife I've seen.
Ooh.
No, that to me,
They think it's a phone.
clearly a phone. The robotic voice is spelling out for you, save.
So I know this is wrong though, because we find out later that he's in the Golden Bunny suit. But God, that Pat is tough. I'm not gonna the way he deducts situations and like gets his threes is crazy.
Them, save them. But when Purple Guy, Phone Guy, catches you, the screen crashes and all you're left with is, you can't. But that's not where it ends, Internet. As you and I both know, there's still Five Nights at Freddy's 1. If this game is last in line and the puppet is truly pulling the strings behind all of this, you might be asking yourself where he is in Five Nights 1. We know the other animatronics got scrapped, but this ghostly
What's up, where?
guy should still be around if this timeline I proposed is correct. And get this, the puppet is in the first game. Take a look at the east hallway. Seems pretty normal, right? But every so often, the posters on the walls change to this, a crying child with two streaming lines down his face. Look familiar? It should. The Five Nights at Freddy's series is about vengeance. One child, 6 children, more, looking for revenge against a sick child killer. The Purple Guy, the guy who just so happens to be the first voice you hear when turning on these games. Save them. Save them. You can't. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Make sure you wind
Okay.
that music box.
Okay. Kinda, that's kind of crazy. Now that I know that it's not true, so to speak, that it's technically not true. But first, that was his first theory, I think.
Build a
to the-
website you love.
Go to the next one. I want to see how he figures it out, dude. That how he's Purple Man. I mean, how Purple Man is Bonnie. Give a freaky frog. What the hell is he doing?
It's time.
Recommend watching the full timeline vid too. All the laws explained there in detail, but still. In less detail, but still. I bet.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, where good things, or at least Fnaf things, come to those who wait. And man, when it comes to this game series, no one was waiting for anything. I mean, the second game came out 3 months after the first. The
Oh, wait, we
trailer
watched
for
this at the beginning.
Forgive me if I was than that abbreviated timeline was your ability to rip people were dolls and pad. In regards to that last one, I have two things to say. First off, well done to you guys for figuring it out so quickly, and secondly, Scott, seriously. Seriously, Scott? Oh look, here's a wall. Let me just dial in my phone number. Beep boop boop beep boop boop. What? When did we jump from a point-and-click horror game to magical fantasy? This thing is like platform 9 3/4. I expect Harry effing
Intro is long
Potter
as hell.
to apparate into puzzle pieces.
Oh, yeah, first. Try to skip videos.
Games to assemble a fairly accurate picture of this franchise's lore. Since you guys had a, let's just say, above average interest posts, whoa, hey, put that away. Bonnie and Shadow Freddy, who randomly appears. There's a child
Wait, okay, I missed something.
answer to, and yet, despite thousands of videos, forum entries, and Tumblr posts, whoa, hey, put that away, you behave yourself. This game is already scary enough without you sticking your hook somewhere it doesn't belong, okay? Despite all those things, we still don't have a clear picture on the details. Yes, there's a child killer on the loose, the infamous purple guy, who's been using Fazbear pizzerias as his hunting ground of choice for years, but going into the third game, we still weren't sure about who this guy was or even how many victims he'd officially taken. Then there are the animatronics. Sure, we generally understand that the killer's dead bodies have been stuffed into some of the suits and that with the help of the puppet, the kids were able to find new life in those robotic bodies. But then what about Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy, who randomly appeared in Fnaf 2 only to become prominent figures throughout part 3? How do they fit in?
Who the hell is Shadow
The
Freddy?
ghostly golden
Is Shadow Freddy a real character? I've never heard of Shadow Freddy until now.
Freddy, someone we've been talking
That's disgusting. Oh my, that's disgusting. Shadow Freddy just joined in chat. The second I said that. Oh my, I'm haunted. That's disgusting. What do you mean he joined as soon as I said that?
about since the first game, and yet we still don't really know anything about him. Well, now that we finally have all the facts, I think it's time
Why
to...
are you liking the live as well? Chill. Shadow Freddy, I'm sorry. Shadow Freddy's a lot less known in the community, Fez. I was wondering, 'cause I've never heard of him before.
my timeline I presented in the last episode to see what I got right, what I got wrong. Yes, you heard that. Wrong. No shame. I'm a big boy. Mommy, wow, I'm a big kid now. And finally fill in the missing details to create what I believe to be my definitive Five Nights theory.
That's Golden Bunny. That's Golden Bunny, right?
Boy, howdy, it is a doozy. So strap in, theorists. You wanted it, you're about to get it. Overall, the timeline of the franchise I presented in the last video still holds strong. Decades before the name became a horror legend meriting its own theme park style attraction, Freddy Fazbear got his start at Fredbear Family Diner. It's here where our story begins as Purple Guy takes his first victim.
Wait,
Something
how
we
many
see
victims
in
are
the
there?
Take Cake minigame from Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
So we have Freddy, Chica, Foxy, Bonnie, Golden Freddy, Puppet. Wait, hold on. Wait, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Golden Freddy, Puppet, Shadow Freddy. That's 47. This nigga's a maniac. This guy's a serial killer.
What tells us that this is Fredbear's and first in the timeline? Well, as I said last time, in addition to it being a small space, the only character we see is Freddy, whereas all other minigames feature multiple animatronics. He's also holding a cupcake. Since that would later become Chica's signature item, the event depicted in this game must have come before she was created. Additionally, notice that the Purple Guy's murder takes place outside the building. This is the only time we see him murder someone outside the walls of a Fazbear building, which implies that this is likely his first victim. Serial killers often have what's known as a signature.
There's 2 in Golden Freddy. So that's 8. That's 8 people. Flipping hell.
killing that's unique to him and him alone. For Purple Guy, his signature is dressing in an animatronic costume, then luring children to the back of the pizzeria and killing them there. But this murder occurs before he developed this particular style, implying that it's the first. From there, we know that the puppet jump scare that always follows this minigame, combined with the tier design on both the dead child and the puppet's mask, implies that the soul of the first child now exists in the puppet. The event caused the original owners to sell the Fredbear name, who then rebranded and avoided the negative PR, becoming what we know today as Fazbear Entertainment.
What is crazy is how these men keep dodging and weaving, flipping all responsibility for these murders that keep happening. Yeah, I accidentally clicked off the video.
I'm a Big Kid feature multiple animatronics, but this murder occurs before as Fazbear Entertainment.
How do Freddy Fazbear's institution like keep getting away with this? They keep murdering. After this, watch the full-time video, recommend getting a crude understanding of everything first. I bet.
They then opened a new chain of restaurants, which we never saw in the games until the release of Five Nights 3. This is not Fredbear Diner like many interpret, but rather the first location of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, predating the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. How do we know? Well, by paying close attention to the old recordings of Phone Guy dug up in Fnaf 3, he introduces us to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, not Diner, before explaining the functionality of the special spring-lock suits.
Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Right now we have 2 specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit.
He also lets us know that the animatronics are still allowed to walk around freely during the day, meaning that this is happening before the bite of 87, in which an animatronic bites someone during business hours, removing their frontal lobe and resulting in the animatronics being restricted to moving around only at night.
Is he looking at the camera? Is that an eyeball or is that like empty space behind? I think that's empty space, but it looks like he's looking at the camera.
Frontal lobe and resulting in the animatronics being
He's looking at the camera, bro.
restricted to moving around
He's
only
looking at the camera, I can't
For
lie.
ease of operation, the animatronics are set to turn and walk towards sound machines.
As Phone Guy informs us, and as we see in the Stage 01 minigame, there are 2 specialty suits, a Golden Bonnie suit and the origins of the infamous Golden Freddy. But the lifespan of these spring-lock suits is actually short-lived as we learn about their one fatal flaw.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suits temporarily unfit for employees. The classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location.
Now, let's pause here. 2 employees are killed by the failure of a Bonnie suit and a Freddy suit. Where else in the game do we see Bonnie and Freddy sharing a unique feature that no one else in the game possesses? Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. Could
Who
this
the hell
be
are
the
they?
origin of the paranormal Shadow suits? Yes, actually. Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie are tied to the ghosts of the employees who died in the spring suits. Get this, the employees' bodies were taken out of the suits, which is why their appearance is more paranormal and why they can't possess them as well as the children can. Plus, having this as their origin would explain the in-game behavior of both suits. In Fnaf 3, we see that Purple Guy hides in a secret safe room that has been built into every pizzeria, a room that's hidden to customers and invisible to the animatronics programming. During the minigames that occur between nights, we see Shadow Freddy lead the other animatronics to this secret room, only to cause them to glitch out and then get torn apart by Purple Guy. This supernatural origin story is how Shadow Freddy is able to enter the safe room when other animatronics can't. How he's able to lead you to that room in the first place when other
So Shadow Freddy is working with the purple guy. That's what's going on.
animatronics wouldn't be able to see it based on their programming, and even why he leads you there, knowing that Purple Guy attacking you will eventually free your soul. That's also why there's no Purple Freddy suit when you do finally enter that room. It's not an alternate Purple Guy costume like many believe, it's an apparition. Suck on that, Harry Potter, I knew someone would apparate eventually. It also explains why Shadow Bonnie's minigame in Fnaf 3 always starts on stage 01, the spring suits, and why it's the one animatronic we control that has the ghostly ability to glitch, fly, and teleport.
Oh god. Gotcha. I don't have premium money yet.
Included last episode, this is also the point in the timeline of the first missing children's incident, the one we learn about via newspaper clippings in Five Nights 1. So, based on the newspaper clipping evidence we have, we know that the mauve murderer dressed in one of the suits lured children to a back room and killed them. He's starting to develop his signature, but one nagging detail Fnaf theorists have been wondering is what suit does he use for his disguise? The answer? Golden Bonnie. Why? Well, remember the phone guy saying the faulty suits were being retired to an appropriate location. There's a high likelihood they're being stored in one of the safe rooms in the restaurant. Plus, we hear in Fnaf 2 that the purple guy has a habit of using a yellow suit.
We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it.
But why not Golden Freddy? Phone guy tells us so at the beginning of Night 5 in Fnaf 3.
Management has also been made aware that the Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved.
My, what an oddly specific detail to include, Scott Cawthon. And remember, these tapes that play in FNAF 3 date all the way back to the first pizzeria location, which is why this detail is so important. It reflects Purple Guy starting to develop his signature killing pattern. From there, we know the rest of the story. Purple Guy kills the kids, stuffs the bodies into the suits to hide them, but as we read the paper, is caught on camera and arrested. Meanwhile, the puppet gives life to the children, and the angry spirits possess the robot.
He got arrested. What? This nigga has generational beef. That means he came back after he got released from prison.
Or is
killing
that
5
really
people.
how it goes? Let's go back to the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame. The children are lying there dead, and the puppet first tries to give them presents. Weird, right? Weird until you consider that his place is at the prize corner. Giving presents is the only thing he knows that can make children happy. It's a reflex. Remember, this is still a child spirit in this puppet, but when that doesn't work, the puppet goes around one more time and does the only other thing it can think of. Put the bodies into the suits. You heard that right. In trying to save the children.
What's up, Liz? I'm full-time within this, by the way. This is the ping. I bet. You know what it is? I don't know what's wrong with my Discord, but I just don't see the ping, like, for my like, Discord server. It's so annoying. I have to check it manually all the time.
Children, he's the one hiding them in the animatronic suits, not the killer like we've been assuming. But then what about the 5th child, as there's only 4 here? Well, as we pointed out last time, the 5th child is there too, appearing at the very end of the minigame and taking the role of Golden Freddy. But remember, Golden Freddy is a decommissioned spring-lock suit at this point, deemed too unsafe to be functional. The reason he's slumped over and can't move like the rest is that his endoskeleton has been taken out. He's in suit mode, not free roaming mode. He physically doesn't have the mechanisms in place to stand up and move. Possessed or no, a dead child's spirit just can't give a boneless suit the ability to stand. This also explains the lone naked endoskeleton that appears occasionally in both Five Nights 2.
That's so peak. Man said like he's just are you new to FNAF? I'm not completely new. Like I know some stuff. I know some of the stuff. I know about the Battle of 87. And I just kids in the suits. And then that's where my knowledge ends.
And Five Nights 1, an endoskeleton that once belonged to Golden Freddy. Whew, I know
I'm the purple man. Purple man.
Made you wait for this one, so I knew I had to make it count. Heck, if there ain't a lot to cover. Still with me? Good, because we're ready for our next location. You see, since the puppet hid the bodies, no one knows they're in the suits until they start oozing and smelling, which, as we see in the papers, eventually gets the place shut down for health violations. The company tries to recover from, quote, the tragedy that took place there many years ago, but can't, and eventually is forced to shut its doors for good. This leads to the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Finally, we're actually going to talk about a game in the series. Seriously, can you believe we've been going this whole time on locations that aren't even settings for the 3 main games? That is why this lore is so challenging, but also so interesting. Anyway, forgotten, dismantled, deactivated. These are the words you see at the beginning of the trailer. Back when the debate about whether this game was a sequel or a prequel to the first game, these words made it seem like a follow-up, that everything had been shut down since the first game, but it wasn't. These words are a reference to the business being closed down after that first missing children's incident. That's why posters everywhere in Five Nights 2 are all about the brand new Fazbear Pizza. It's the grand reopening after years of being out of business. That's also why the new toy animatronics have built-in facial recognition software to a criminal database. They need to be careful to prevent another incident, but as we know, it doesn't work. As we see in the Save Them minigame, 5 more children get killed.
How do you have 5 more kids getting killed if the animatronics literally have criminal software in their eyes? I'm not gonna say it don't make sense, but like, how? Like, how does that actually happen?
In this new location. We know it's the new location because the minigame map's layout perfectly matches this new Fazbear business. We also know it couldn't have happened earlier in the timeline as both the old animatronics and new toy robots are presented in the game. But this time, the puppet's solution isn't saving the kids, it's stopping the killer. He enlists the help of Freddy to try and SAVETHEM, leading the bear to the killer's location. Except Purple Guy came prepared, equipped with not a phone, but rather something to help him tamper with the animatronics. He knows
He literally said it didn't work. Oh, it didn't work.
that something fishy is going on with these robots, because he's been watching, studying. The puppet wants Freddy to save
Oh no, I mean, I know it didn't work, but I'm saying, how did it not work? Like, it didn't just not recognize the criminal or what?
them, to which the killer's answer is only this: you can't. So how did the Purple Guy manage it when he had been caught years before? What about the
And the
Bite
rest
of
of- yeah.
87? How do FNAF 1 and 3 fit in? And most importantly of all, who is the Purple Guy? All that next week. Don't worry, I'll come back. I always do. In the meantime, it's all just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
My pat you a bitch.
Make sure you don't miss part 2 by clicking subscribe.
Okay, let me check the thingy. Is this good? I've seen it.
Get as much cash as you get your hands on.
You want to go hustling again?
We end the tour.
Yo, this is an hour and 26. Oh, will I be able to finish it though? I might watch. I'll watch up to. I'll see how much I'll watch. We'll see how much I'll watch. Get through before we finish. And then I'll finish it tomorrow.
Torment. 19 books, 11 games, 8 whole years, all leading to this moment.
When did this one release? My fault, sorry for distracting you guys. 2 years ago.
Games, 8 whole years, all leading to this moment.
It should be a bear. Okay, cool.
The ultimate FNAF timeline is finally complete. The pieces are in place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that feels like a kid revealing the class project that he's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life. This one is big, my friends, and I gotta admit, kinda nervous. I haven't attempted
1 sec.
a timeline video on this franchise.
I didn't mean to do that. So I'm checking for the thingy, the chapters. Am I blind? Oh, that's it. FNAF Ultimate Timeline. Well, I'll watch up to 27. I'll watch up to 27. Unless I'm... Wait, no, this don't make sense. Wait, am I stupid? This don't make sense. Anyway,
since
We'll see where they go.
2018. Back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton coming back was actually a surprise,
Who's
and
Mike?
Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the last time I did something like this, we've had 3 more massive games, the death and revival of the Fnaf movie, and more robot kids than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise,
What about
which
kids,
honestly is why
Mike?
I'm here today. The lore at this
The
point
hell are they
is
talking about?
complicated. It is full of speculation and theory, so to hopefully make it a little easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge. This thing towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his rise to
Purple Man is William Afton. Noted.
becoming co-owner of one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital form later. So sit back, grab some popcorn
What?
or your pitchforks if you're the type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure that you subscribe, since this is going to be a video that you're going to want to come back to a few times in order to fully dissect.
Purple Man is a
Without
superhero.
any more waiting, I
mean, not
present
superhero,
to you the
supervillain.
story of a loving, obsessive father who slowly descended into madness, and along the way discovered the secret to eternal life. Our
Auditions
story
of Freddy's.
begins not in the 1980s, or even in the 1970s, but all the way back in the 1930s. It was the throes of the Great Depression, and people were in desperate need of cheap entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the states hit hardest, 4th highest unemployment in the nation, and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on to find their fortunes out in California. People were tired and they were hungry, but as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits. A simple
Lord gets
roadside
weird.
attraction called Fredbear's
After the first 6 games. There's 6 games. I don't even know how many games there are. Damn.
Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town, featuring an animated bear drawn in the popular pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could
11.
bring the family. And the price
I'm surprised the logo
honestly
gets
couldn't
weird.
be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment as you watched the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got to see dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey, where the tickets would go for about $1. That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show, like the type from the Von Brothers or the Robbins Brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on
That was a
stage
lot back in the day,
brought
though.
her joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple show would go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents liked to call him William. William Afton. The bear could dance. It could sing.
What? What? How?
For
Anyway.
decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes. We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear. Dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that, timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s and a series of pizza restaurants in the 80s without him just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the Singin' Show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree begins. That just doesn't make a lot of logical sense because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect
becomes
that
immortal.
Fredbear's Singin' Show was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation or some
This is not the real law that is update. Trust. What's the real law? I mean, I'm still gonna watch it, but like, just because it seems interesting. And I also want to get like a baseline, like context.
thing that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. William was inspired by the work of Walt Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use of mascot suits throughout his theme park. The big innovation? Suits with 5 fingers. This allowed the performers wearing the suits to use their natural arms and hands to interact with the guests, as opposed to the older models where the arms would just hang limply by their sides. Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring Fredbear to life. To appeal to the kids, and for copyright copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend, a yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. While Fredbear was certainly his first love, Bonnie was extra special because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough, with seams and stitches visibly showing. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very much not a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary. It came at a time before animatronics were a part of the story. That's why I suspect that it was actually the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the way that he sees himself. There's also a whole separate discussion to be had here about the habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says a lot about his emotional attachment to it. So, well,
FNAF made one that's really up to date. I'll watch that after I finish this one.
Bear seems to have started as someone else's creation. Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection. And that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even Golden Freddy, Fredbear, was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel, before he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 Nightmares, if they even are nightmares, saw those mascot suits specifically. Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic crowds. Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to all the kids, delighting and inspiring them in the exact
how'd he end
way
up
that
killing
he had
them?
been delighted and inspired so many years ago. Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as someone with good intentions and a love of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning.
And he did these them as well.
A lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. And things could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story. It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea and they wanted in. Enter Chica's Party World, a rival restaurant starring performing animal characters. His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do, make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, but all of them able to freely turn and talk and dance on their own, no human required. It was like magic. Magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry, in some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself. Afton admired him. He was
So
jealous,
Henry the
to
bitch.
be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe. Off to one side of Chica's Party World was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on. That one was more of a joke for the parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a southern drawl.
Yellow
named
chicken
Chica,
thing.
backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait. A bear? But bears were his animals. Why not a cow or a horse? Something to fit the country theme a bit better. Why'd it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to call this thing Ned Bear, a direct copy of his own
Fredbear.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark.
I've suspected that the mediocre melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the roster. Especially Ned Bear, which is just so suspiciously close to Fredbear. And yet, there are 2 key details that we're gonna have to justify with any mediocre melodies mention. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these things are supposed to be cheap, generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off? Henry. We've talked extensively about how the mediocre melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic, so it just has to be him. I don't think Henry's doing this maliciously. He doesn't strike me as the type. He was likely building the robots at the orders of someone else that was running a rival restaurant franchise. But that's enough motivation to start Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and William's relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins. Also, this is future Matt Pat here coming back to add this one in. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular point, I gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it. They actively call out the suspicious similarities to the main Fredbear crew. Quote from one of the pages: Ned Bear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money. Knowing all of this, at one point the franchises had to have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of Chuck E. Cheese, with two rival restaurants, each with their own casts.
Is that Pasquale? Hold on.
History of Chuck E. Cheese, with two rival restaurants.
Pasquale. Cousin about Pasquale.
Restaurants, each with their own casts of characters, merging to become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail with other videos, just wanted to remind you all of that here. But why would I call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World? Few things, actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing sister location, so it is out there somewhere and doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story of the Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch and Ned Bear, implying that she started as a mediocre melody. Thirdly, her design just fits better with the theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one that was added to the main cast of characters while all the other mediocres faded away. It's also why when Freddy's closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in sister location, a detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was Henry's creation, not his. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness, a bitterness that would only grow over the next couple of years as families continued to choose Chica's Party World over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal of the robots. Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily. Another insult, another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget. 1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans in performing suits as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand and because he was the
Irving, thank you for the Irving, thank you for the follow, man.
The original performing animal mascot. Afton appreciated that. This new restaurant would also see a mix of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big Fredbear family, they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
We've got passion, we've got determination.
No. I don't want your course, sir.
That said, not all the characters were winners. The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so they faded away into the dumpster, storage units, and retro budget tech stores of lost nostalgia, waiting for their chance to step back into the limelight if and when a headliner went out of commission. Others, though, would fare much better, like a new Pirate Fox, as well as a blue guitar-playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the franchise would get so big, it would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In the end, Fredbear and Bonnie's popularity would be so strong that they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this new supporting cast of characters: Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear. Business was good, and Afton was happy, mostly. It did bother him that the one original character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter, he had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and easy, new characters introduced into the roster would be given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5 fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics. But why stop there? Afton had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage, but could freely roam the restaurant and interact with the kids? What if his mascot suits could become animatronics? What if you could use more than just rigid metallic skeletons? Why not experiment with tubes and wires that would give the animatronics fluidity and flexibility while still providing structure? The possibilities for this technology were endless. Afton fell in love with robotics. He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineer.
This is where you see the signs, bro. He's becoming. He's clearly a psychopath. You know what I mean? He's clearly a psychopath. So I don't think they should have kept teaching him how to make robots.
Degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter and more capable.
Mind you, they work together.
Man who everyone else considered to be a visionary genius. But pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike. 1983, business was booming with 2 whole restaurant franchises running, Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit, and fittingly enough, it was symbolic of the partnership between these 2 men, a human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny cam system where cameras and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic Friend Fredbear.
That's why he was watching us.
I mean, plushy Fredbear. But since cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid,
That's why I was watching us in the game, because I remember when we were playing Five Nights at Freddy's 4, that dog kept looking at me. I was thinking, why is he looking at me? Oh my god, that's why there was so many inside the village, not the village, but like, you know, when you walked around in the mini games, there was like little Fredbears around the place just looking at you for like behind things, hiding places. Yo.
Also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael. There was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented his younger brother by jump scaring him with a foxy mask and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time? It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just so happened to be on this crying child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he was terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped down. The wriggling stopped. The boy went limp, but it was just a prank. It was meant to be funny. The boy was taken to the hospital and was immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed, but the damage was too severe. He couldn't recover. As the younger brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together. This would not be the end. No matter what, Williams' son would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now,
I'm good, bro. What about you, bro? You're doing well.
Now he just didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath of the tragedy, changes started happening around the restaurants. Kids were now required to wear security wristbands to prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette on strings that could fly around on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was William's idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's spring lock failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them. William would eventually bury the boy's small body in a remote location out in the woods right alongside his drive into and out of work every day. The death of this little boy sent the family spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV, but his son Michael was far worse. Complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window, the boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the
are we playing as him in Five Nights at Freddy's 4? You doing alright? W mans, bro. W mans. Cause like today's been a shift. Been a shift all day.
that took his life. The suit's three-toed feet digging into the wet earth. The words, "It's me," ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As for William himself, he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there. The bar gave him a place to think, to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had stolen his idea for an animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy. And now there was his son. Henry had taken his son from him. The robotic part was the part that failed after.
No, that's not what happened, bro. That's not what happened. I mean, that's what happened, but that's not what happened. Like, you didn't take your son. Your other son's just a piece of shit.
William ordered one more drink, but it was one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back to the restaurant to give Henry a piece of his mind, only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the building, bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was his chance to get back at the man that had humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business, and now Henry's robotic suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts.
Fast delivery.
Wow. That's kind of dark. Cool. I mean, you were there, gang. How you do? What? No, I wasn't. What's up, Vincent?
When William became a killer, he dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence, and though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back to the crime. In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's family diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location, and there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit. Tragic memories of their yellow...
So it's the Battle of 83, not Battle of 87, bruh.
Predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 198 3. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important, why he was down there in the first place. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him. All for him, right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform.
What's up, Evan? At the moment, this theory is not relevant anymore. So just some parts of it. Oh, so a lot of this theory got like revamped. That's crazy.
Blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering,
But how
twisted
much?
nightmares.
Oh, gosh.
Nightmares. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank,
Fab, that's never gonna happen, bro. Never. Ever.
smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again, this was the boy who had killed his son. He would make him sorry. And so Michael would grow up not only dealing with the memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares, illusions created by sound. Michael would never forget these either. Years later, as a security guard, he would still draw pictures of them inside of his logbook. But all of these extra
He's the
projects
security
meant that
guard.
his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls when there is music in my halls? All I see is an empty room, no more joy, an empty tomb.
So essentially, the whole family just cooked. If you're in Afton, you're just not gonna survive. They all became animatronics. Literally all of them.
And despite her repeated demands that he leave his office and engage with the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping the diamond ring.
And through it all, there was one lingering feeling. William wasn't done. He had gotten a taste of what it felt like to be unleashed, what it felt like to be free. Charlie's murder had unlocked.
I need premium money, bro. I don't got premium money.
In him, and he wanted more. June 26th, 1985. Putting on the golden Bonnie suit, he lured children one by one to the back room of the pizzeria when no one was looking. At first, he was cautious. He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their dog had died. He would ask for help with homework. Susie was the first. You never truly forget your first.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
But where to hide the bodies? He couldn't sneak out. Someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be found, and where they'd never leave the building. They had to be stuffed inside of the suits. No one maintained those things anyway except for him. And so Susie would go.
It was. Or just crack YouTube, I thought. Wait, so he stuffed them inside the suits, not the puppet. Is that what's going on? So it wasn't the puppet that put him inside the suits, it was William Afton.
Into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next, but it was easy. It was too easy. And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped. Until the last one where all pretense was off. He let himself get violent. Too violent.
I'll just wait for him after school, throw a bag over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back of my car.
What? Cassidy was far more bloody and broken than any of the others. He'd let himself go too far. That one he shouldn't have killed. With no more active animatronics left, he shoved the body into the one suit that remained backstage. The long-forgotten yellow Fredbear, now broken and discolored with age. Broken, like Cassidy was broken, like his son was broken. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back, but they couldn't convict him. They had no bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they had was circumstantial at best, and so he walked walked away a free man. But Henry knew the truth. In these murders, he saw his daughter Charlie all over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for 2 years. This would not happen again. This could not happen again. How could he protect the kids? Finally, he developed a solution. He would implement an even more extreme security system in the form of new animatronics. Toy animatronics, inspired by the toys that they had been selling years ago. But these guys, these were special. They were a new breed of robot with facial recognition abilities.
But most importantly, they're all...
One sec. I'll be back. Hello, I'm back. I had to quickly go do something. I mean, we're nearly at the end anyway, so might as well just keep going.
Into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were moved to the new location. With a plan in place, it was time to try once more. The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers. Headlines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back, and without him? That was his idea, his character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No. As long as these restaurants stayed open, William would always come back. Then he noticed the phone number
that's his line, I
at the
swear.
bottom of the article. $100 a week to apply call. Afton would go back, not as an owner or co-founder. He would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him, a lowly day shift security guard. And there it was, buried in the back of parts and services, mixed in with the old withered animatronics, was the golden rabbit. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
Oh, bruh.
Five more kids. He didn't know what felt better, getting back into the suit after 2 long years of waiting, or knowing how devastating this would be to Henry the next morning. He didn't even try to hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He'd failed to protect the kids again. The restaurant had only been open for a few weeks, but William was sure that this would get it to close. Good, if he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would. Whenever a new pizzeria opened, he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them? They couldn't, obviously, but still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bitten by one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for him? William's curiosity was stronger now than his bloodlust. He had to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate...
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to end it there for today because of something I have to go do. So I'll come back tomorrow. 29 minutes in. We got how long left? 57 minutes left. We'll come back tomorrow, watch this one. We might watch the bit of the next one. But sorry. I have to end it there for today. But W stream, man. Take care, stay blessed. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.